Hey, it's me, Shane, Gemini Garage, and another video today. Pretty cool one today, I think. It's a radio video, but on a little bit different scale, or maybe I should say different frequency. We're going to have the Xiegu X6200 here. I say Xiegu because I believe in this country primarily when something starts with an X, we kind of pronounce it like it starts with a Z. A good example with that would be the movie Xanadu and the drug Xanax, but anyway, it's Americans for you, right? So the Xiegu X6200 and the WR-12 add-on receiver as well. Pretty cool deals here. As you may notice, one of the themes to my channel is amateur radio, and until now I've primarily just been doing 10, 11, and 12 meter radios because that's most of what I've had, and it's just kind of what I kind of started on first, but I do have an interest in pretty much anything that transmits or receives. They all have their place, whether it's the little G.M.R.S. walkie-talkies all the way up to the big ham radios and everything in between as far as I'm concerned. So like I said, I'm going to kind of venture into some other territory with this thing here, and maybe just kind of do a quick unboxing, and then after messing around with it for a day or two, just kind of give a real quick general opinion, and maybe kind of give you an idea of who this radio would be good for, and who maybe wouldn't like it so much, and we'll go from there. So let me rearrange the camera here, and we'll get into it. Stick with me. Okay, so this is pretty much how it came in the box here. This basically came in a white plastic shipping bag, and pretty much the same thing with the WR-12 add-on here. So we'll get to this in a second here. But here we go. Xiegu X6200 transceiver. And this is what you got. They give you a pretty thick instruction book with it, which is good because it's got a lot of stuff on it. This seems like it covers it pretty well though, so it's definitely nice to have this. And then you get, looks like a warranty card to fill out here maybe. Or what is this? Yeah, product warranty card. And then you get the actual radio. It's in the bag here, and it says right here, it says warm tip. To comply with aviation safety regulation, the device is in a low battery state. Please charge it before use. So basically what they're telling you is the battery is mostly discharged for shipping, so make sure you charge it up. And there we go. Not very big, but it's heavy. It's definitely about the size and the weight of an actual, brick. Let me check my camera real quick here. So yeah, pretty much a little brick here, and that's without the battery in. So you get the radio here, and then our battery is tucked in here like that. I'll just put our battery on. There we go with the battery, and then you get your microphone cord, which has the RJ45 on each end. You get your power supply cord for, like, if you're using an external battery or an external power supply, and it already had these ends crimped on here, so these ends came on there from the factory. Just to FYI, I opened mine up and I thought, oh, was it used or returned or whatever, but no, all the pictures have the butt connectors already on there. So get that there. Get your microphone here that of course plugs onto this here. Okay. You get a USB-C to USB cable here, and then your actual battery charger here. And you're not really supposed to use the radio while it's charging, just while that's plugged into it. You can turn it on and check the battery voltage, and but you're just not supposed to use it much or get it too warmed up or whatever. You're not supposed to. They really need to make a cradle, and I'm surprised somebody hasn't already. They just need to make a cradle for these removable batteries that you can kind of pre-charge these in instead of having to charge them in the radio. Kind of surprised they don't have something like that yet, but anyways. So once again, this is pretty much the unboxing of it. Like I said, you get your instruction booklet, your warranty card, the radio, the battery, your microphone cord, the microphone head here, your battery charger for the battery onto the radio, your USB to a USB-C for making connections, for making these connections right here, and then you have your external power supply / battery cable here. So that's what you get in the box. Okay, real quick, we're just going to unbox the WR-12 here. This is the basically the 2 meter / 440 megahertz add-on receiver. It bolts to the top of the radio here and has a couple of cables that go. One cable goes to here, and then you put your coax onto the receiver itself, and then you've got another USB cable that goes from the unit over here to the host port of the radio. I'll show all that later, but you get your instructions here and your frequency ranges here and your product warranty card here. You get the actual unit. Like I said, your cable from the unit goes from here to the radio, and then you plug your actual coax that you'd plug into the radio on here, and then you've got a USB cable that goes from here to the host port on the radio. It basically sits on top of the radio like that. Of course, this plate that's on here, that comes off. This sits in there. And then you've got a couple of long thumb screws that you bolt this thing there. And here's your two cables. Your coax cable and your USB cable. And again, this cable screws onto the unit and goes to the radio, and then you put your regular cable, coax cable to the unit, and then your USB here is basically the power and the host, and that goes from the back of this to the host port on the radio. So anyways, that's pretty much what you get. Unit, thumb screws, cables, instructions, frequency range, and warranty card information. WR-12. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to really go deep into the menu of this thing at all or any of that kind of stuff. I'm just going to try and give a quick overview here of the whole radio and everything. So first off, to turn it on, you long press the red power button here. Press it until you hear a click or until you see the screen. And same thing to shut it off. If you short press it, then it won't shut off, and sometimes it'll act a little bit gimpy. Takes about, probably 15 seconds to boot up from the time you push the button and hear it click. And there you go. It's not hooked up to an antenna right now. And you'll also notice that it's on 27165, which is the CB band. And no, I have not converted this. This is how it came from the factory. You can't transmit it on it, but you can listen on that frequency, which I think that's pretty cool. I'm definitely a conversion guy. I like to be able to talk and transmit, but even a lot of the 10, 11, 12 meter radios, one of the reasons I do the conversions is because people just like to listen. So at least they did it halfway right, or I guess all the way right, legally speaking, on this one. At least you can still listen to it. Some of the newer some of the newer radios, they do have it so you can at least listen. But a lot of the older ones, you really couldn't do that. You either kind of had to, have the whole thing capped off or open, and so at least that's nice about this. Given this is kind of a low wattage radio, and I am one of those horrible, awful people that doesn't really see a problem with transmitting your allotted power on whatever frequency, regardless of what radio you're using. I will end up doing the conversion on this. You've got to get into the software and fiddle around, so that'll be kind of an educational thing, because there's times you might need to do that for things other than doing an 11 meter conversion. So, but anyways, I will be doing that down the road, just an FYI. But as I said before, it does come capable of receiving on those bands. Same thing with the G.M.R.S. and 2 meter receiver here. You can listen on them, but no transmitting. So let me try and get to some of the features of the radio here real quick, and just kind of how it's laid out. For the most part, it seems pretty user-friendly. Once in a while, I turn this knob instead of the bottom knob, and turn the bottom knob instead of the top knob. Sometimes if you're going through the menu options or trying to scroll through stuff like, let's see, for example here. Say we go into settings here. You scroll through some of this stuff. You can change your settings with the top or the inner knob, and then the outer knob scrolls, from back and forth. And sometimes I mix those things up a little bit. But otherwise, it's pretty intuitive. Most of your stuff's labeled pretty well. On the top here, and of course you got the couple little kickstands here, like on the 6100. They're not fabulous, but they're better than nothing. So on the top here, you've got this accessory plate here. That comes off, and this sits on top of it there. And then, of course, like I said, there's a couple thumb screws here that take the place of these to hold this on. You've got your frequency lock button right here, which just basically locks your VFO or your channels. You've got your tune, automatic antenna tuner unit here, your ATU tune button here. That's basically to turn it off and to tune it. And then here, this is your A and B, switching back and forth to your VFOs for your A VFO or your B on your channels. Here you can see you've got a one channel that's in here, and then this one up here. That toggles back and forth between the two of them. Then here you've got a push to talk button, so like if you didn't have the microphone hooked up, you kind of use it like a walkie-talkie. You've got your band here, which will toggle you up and down through your bands here. Then you've got your modes here, which does AM, FM, CW, and then the upper and lower sideband. And I think there's some digital modes that are included in that too. I'm not exactly, lower digital, upper sideband, upper digital, and back to AM. So pretty much your band and your channels and your modes up here. And then here you've got your volume, your squelch, and your RF gain, depending on, shows you what you're doing right here with your volume. Push it again, it's your squelch, and then hit it again, and it's your RF gain. Again, you got your power button here, and then these buttons here are kind of your menu options. This kind of returns you to home here. This sends you into these settings here, these settings here, that there. Like I said, I'm not going to get into what all this stuff does, but and then of course once you're into whatever of the settings you are, then you have individual settings inside of there via these buttons here. Like we kind of set it back to home there, and then here setting 1, that goes in, and there's a whole bunch of settings there, and then you can back out of that. Settings 2, some settings in there. Some of these are 2 pages, and you click next and go to the next page. And then display. This one shows all the different parameters and things you can do, with the waterfall display here, changing the colors, changing the thickness of the waterfall, and the span of the frequencies, and all of that. So lots of stuff there. Then of course over here is our tuning knob here. You can kind of see it right there. You got your handles right here. Over here on the end here you have your jack here for the RJ45 for the microphone there.
You've got your SD card slot there. You've got 2 USB ports here, and then you've got 3 ports here. You've got one for an accessory, the key, and then I can't see what that one is, but I know one of these is where you plug the wire in for the amplifier if you're going to be running an amplifier too. And then over here on this end, you've got your BNC antenna jack, and then your charging port here. So real quick, I'm going to put this thing on there, WR-12. So let me get a, comes with an Allen wrench in here. So I guess that's what the Allen wrench is for. Take these off here. Yeah, because these are just regular thumb screws. No Allen here, but Allen for these. Okay, go ahead and put these screws in this bag here, the plate 2. And there you go. No hole there, just an indent. And that's where this goes right here. So again, we just set this on top of there like that. Put our thumb screws in here. And then we're going to take this piece of coax here and connect it to here, obviously. This is an SMA 500 connection, I believe is what they call these connections here. Then you got your BNC connection here, which goes to the radio. Like that. Then you have this USB cable here. This goes to the host USB port on your radio, and then it plugs into the WR-12 unit itself. So when you are all done with it, that's what it looks like there. You know, obviously a little bit of an add-on. You really don't have to have this bolted to the top of the radio. If you had a longer USB cable and a longer one of these cables here, you could probably just kind of have this down line someplace else. It wouldn't necessarily have to be stacked on top of the radio. You'd have a couple of longer wires, but just a thought there for that. But anyways, like I said, it's optional to have on there, which is kind of nice. You know, they're only going to be able to make the radio so big and fit everything in there anyways. So and not everybody you know, needs 2 meter or the 440 megahertz band. So, you know, kind of nice to just having an option. And I don't think it takes too much away from it when it's on there. It doesn't really add any, this stays out of the way, so it's really not too problematic. So, but anyways, I did want to put that on there for you so you know how that looks. Next, I'm going to hook up an antenna to it real quick and see if I can find anything, kind of scroll through a little bit, and then I'll come back and just kind of give my final conclusions on it. As I said earlier, there's going to be a lot more videos on this radio down the road. I still need to get some antennas for it, and you know, just I've got some other stuff I need to get for it. I need to get a case and some other stuff, so I'll have lots of videos on this radio going down the road. So yeah. Let me switch it up here and we'll get this thing hooked up to an antenna. I almost forgot to show the microphone and all of this, so here it is. It's really nice. And also don't forget, sometimes these frequencies, you can't always get to them by going to them with the wheel or with the button. Sometimes you actually need to type it into the microphone. So, but yeah, like I said, it is pretty user-friendly and maneuverable and usable even without the microphone. So we got something going on there. This is just the local, one of the scanner channels. Whoops. Okay, back on the volume. Got to pay attention to when you click this where this is at. But let's see if we can get a little bit more an audio sample here.
3524. Can you send that last note to his PO? Will do.
Well, there you go. The WR obviously works. Well, let's see, we got another signal down here. It's a pretty quiet night on the radio tonight. Of course, it would be, right? But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much what you got there. Like I said, I really can't complain about anything except for the battery. And there's really nothing wrong with the battery, the way the battery goes in here. It'd be nice if the charging system was a little bit better so you didn't have to, so you could use the battery or use the radio while the battery was charging in it. But they just need to give you an extra cradle with it so that you can plug this in to the cradle and charge the battery separate from the radio. And that would pretty much solve any of my battery gripes. It didn't last a real long time, but it's a 3200 mAh battery, and you got a lot going on here with this screen and stuff. So it's not going to last more than a couple hours probably if you're listening and talking lightly on it. But anyways, that's okay. That's at least it's a removable battery, so that's not such a bad thing. And like I said, that's one of the reasons I wanted to make sure I got one of these, because I just really didn't want to have to deal with the battery replacement hassle. So okay, so real quick here, I just kind of wanted to show how this antenna tuner, antenna analyzer, and the SWR plot thing work real quick, because it's kind of cool. Let's go. Okay, there's 27.165, and that is a CB band frequency, and of course it's hooked up to a CB antenna. So let's see, we'll turn our tuner off here. Let's see, we'll just do an SWR scan. We'll go into SWR scan, hit start, and it'll keep going through it until you hit stop. And you can see it's not really doing too much, because got a pretty flat SWR on this antenna. So we'll go ahead and hit stop here and exit. Now let's go someplace else here. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go down here, see what we got. Now, let's hit SWR scan, and let's hit start. Whoa! Yeah, not a flat line down at the bottom anymore, is it? As a matter of fact, that's at like a 4.0 SWR, so we don't want that. But again, that's running there, and it's telling you where it's at and across what frequencies. So we're going to hit stop. Now, it would be nice if we could do something about that and get that down a little bit. So we'll turn our antenna tuner on here, and then we'll hit SWR scan, and then we'll try it again, okay, because we haven't tuned it yet. Now we'll exit out of there. We'll push and hold. You can see we turned the tuner on. We'll push and hold it. And that's tuned it. And so we'll go into our SWR scan here, hit start, and you'll see it tuned it. It had a hard time tuning it, but it tuned it right here. It tuned it flat right there. It's still high on the other spots there, but it did what little it could to kind of tune that little portion right there. So if you were going to talk right there and you weren't running much power and you absolutely needed to tune it like that, it would work. So again, let's exit out of here and turn that off. Go back up to where we were there. And of course, we don't even need to have the antenna tuner on. It'll just hit SWR scan, and that's pretty flat again. So anyway, just wanted to show you how that worked. It's kind of a cool little feature. So all right, well, there you go. Pretty cool radio. I think unless you're really if you're used to really high-end stuff, and you do a lot of the digital stuff and the CW decoding and the FT8 and all that kind of stuff, and I haven't used any of that in this, so I couldn't tell you from my own personal experience, but from what I've seen, that stuff's just going to be a little bit more glitchy in something like this. Not saying that I've had any problems with this one, and I'm not saying they haven't worked a lot of that stuff out. This did come with what appears to be the latest firmware, which is 1.07 something or other, I think. So, but you know, the screen's good. Everything seems to work, you know, pretty well. You know, a $750-ish radio is not cheap. But then again, when you look at what some of the other ones cost, and then also you have to take into consideration these things are, you know, designed for a certain price point, and I think most of the complaints that people have had over these radios, this one and the 6100, have pretty much mostly been firmware, you know, issues. So not so much quality control issues or, you know, problems with the radios themselves, although that is going to happen. You're going to have bad reviews here and there. I think you just have to kind of look at the average of reviews. You know, if you read 100 reviews and you know, 80 of them are good, then you're just kind of going to have to go with that. I would like to mention it's probably not a bad idea to buy one of these. This one basically came from Radiodity. It came from their eBay store, which is Niche One or Niche One. Not quite sure how you pronounce that, but that's where this one came from. They offer bundle deals on the Radiodity website, but that's not where I got this. I had just got the radio and then the WR-12 receiver separate. And but what I was going to say is it's probably a pretty good idea to buy something like this from some place that's going to have a decent warranty. And if you're buying it from someplace that offers an extended warranty, may be a good idea. Or if you've got your own warranty through where you buy it, maybe eBay or Amazon, or maybe your own credit card company or something has some kind of a warranty or a free replacement, something. This would be an excellent thing to get you know, with something like that. And I would say that with any of this stuff, whether it was an ICOM or Yaesu or any of it. Anytime you're getting something that's especially something that's designed to be portable like this, you know what I mean? Which is another place this comes into play. You know, this is the kind of thing, because of the price point, and like I said, you know, $750-ish for a radio ain't cheap, but you know, how much do people spend on energy drinks and body art and you know, downloading movies and subscriptions to things? I mean, so people tend to waste a lot of money on things, or spend a lot of money on things anyways, and so you know, how much did your phone cost? You know what I'm saying? And hopefully this is you know, will last as long as a phone. So while that's, you know, not chump change, you're getting a lot for your money, and I think it's you know, a worthwhile investment. A lot of people don't like the Chinese made stuff, but you know, their stuff's pretty good stuff, and like I said, you're just kind of going to have to get something that's got a warranty. I mean, you can get any brand of any product that, you know, and get a lemon, or get one that's, you know, got a problem. So with that, I think pretty much anybody's going to like this radio. I think if you're an old school guy and you're maybe looking to get into something that's kind of newer just to play around with it, but you don't want a whole big station, or yeah, this is a good radio for it. Kind of a shack in the box, you know, with the 2-meter 440 receiver here. You can't transmit on it, but still, you know, most people, if you've got a radio like this, you're just going to be listening. Most people that are actually going to talk on, you know, 2-meter or 440 are going to have, you know, a dedicated radio for it, probably a handheld. So just the fact that you can receive on that, and you can see here the battery just went dead and it just automatically shut itself off. So, but yeah, other than that, I think everybody's pretty much going to enjoy this radio, and I don't really see anybody
if your expectations, like I said, for some of the digital modes aren't too high, you know, I've heard of them, you know, sometimes it just doesn't always decode the CW properly, or sometimes the FT8 can be a little bit sticky, and, you know, and then there's, of course, little firmware bugs here and there. But if that kind of stuff doesn't bother you, if you want to get this as something, it's a great scan tool. And when I say scan tool, you also get an antenna analyzer out of it too. So, you know, that's, you know, worth a couple bucks, right? So it's also very useful as a tool. But when I say a scan tool, if you're new to radio and you're not familiar, whether it's, you know, CB, GMRS, or ham, if you're not familiar with the people or your area, or if you know if there's anybody else in your area that's, you know, on the radio, this is great because you can watch, you know, a field of multiple channels, you know, frequencies at one time, and you will find conversations and things going on that you probably would not have found with a traditional receiver, you know, even if you've got something that searches or scans. So for that, I think it's an excellent radio. You know, so with that, I think I'm going to wrap this up. Like I said, just kind of a quick overview there. There's tons of features, tons of things going on with this, and I will have subsequent videos, but I just kind of want to... it's kind of hard to do a video on these and not go into all this other crap. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just kind of saying, hey, look, here's the radio. This is what it's capable of. This is kind of what you're getting. This is kind of who might like it and who might not, and go from there. So with that, I hope you... educated yourself on this thing a little bit, and lots of videos out there on it, but most of them are from, you know, when it first came out, and so it's good to have a new video every once in a while on something. So anyways, with that, hope you enjoyed it, hope it educated you. Click the like and subscribe if you think about it, and we'll see you in the next video. Shane, Gemini Garage.